renewable space. And what lies ahead? This is the one space that the market is extremely excited about. And Nigel, we have a very special guest right here in the studios.
Well, that's right. Well, sir, welcome to the studio and thanks a lot
Thank you so much.
for joining in. The renewable energy space is picking up, is actually center stage with close to around, I think currently the India renewable energy space has close to around 200 gigawatt, which is headed towards 500 gigawatts. So let's get straight to a conversation with Mr. Chalasani, the CEO at Suzlon. Thanks a lot, sir, for coming down. It's been a while since we met as well.
Thank you, especially in person.
Absolutely. So from around this 200 gigawatt to around this 500 gigawatt, could you tell us wind will constitute how much of this journey according to your estimates? And also we have a brokerage note that says that currently your market share is at around 25%. Morgan Stanley note. They expect Suzlon market share to move up to around 35 to around 40%. Do you think that's doable?
Yeah, first let's look at macro level of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. There are two aspects to it. One is that need of renewable energy because you need green power. More importantly, in India, it's extremely important from the point of view of competitive tariffs.
Indeed.
If the tariff is high, cost of kilowatt hour goes up, your market shrinks in power sector. As per CA study for 2030, which they've done the 8760 hours load profile, and if you meet that, you want to meet that demand based on the least cost option. That's why they said that you need 100 gigawatts of wind.
Okay.
So therefore, the estimate is you need 100 gigawatts of wind to meet the demand what is predicted in 2030, and also that is the route for the least cost option.
Indeed.
So therefore, this fits both demand and the cost option. Today, currently we're at 47 gigawatts.
So doubling of that.
Yeah, 6 years left. We are right now inching closely. We moved 1.5x last year. We expect it to go to 4.5 today, again 1.5x, but it will touch about 6 gigawatts in our view. I'm talking about country, not us. And then reach about 8-9 gigawatts by FY27 and remain at that. And if not 100, we'll reach somewhere there, close by 90-95 gigawatts. But it will continue beyond 2030. It's a target, but then it's going to continue beyond that. In fact, the expectation is that you need about 140 gigawatts of wind by 2032. So there is a demand for wind because more importantly, the renewable energy is now replacing fossil fuel from the point of view of round the clock,
yes,
load following type of things. So there, solar, wind and storage together will play a role.
All right.
I think
so from around 48 gigawatt, we're going to be heading towards that, 90 to around 100 gigawatt. That is for the industry on the whole with regard to wind. Got that. What about Suzlon's role? The stock market believes, or various brokerage firms like Morgan Stanley, they say that from around 25% of the market share, you will outgrow the industry and take a bigger chunk, 35 to 40% by 2027. Doable?
See, right now, in the installed capacity, we're 32% in India, in the 47 gigawatts. So we're the market leaders there. And second is, let me not talk about the market share. Let me talk about what is feasible for us to do, because market share depends upon what everyone else does. Today, if you look at our current order book is 5.1 gigawatts.
Yes.
Which is the highest order book we ever had in the history of 29 years.
Correct.
Okay. And it's growing. It's not that it will stop. And the second most important factor is that who are our segmented customers. Okay. The C&I segment, which is commercial industrial segment, is significantly growing in India. They're using renewable energy to replace a captive.
Correct.
Okay. Because of tariff arbitrage, because of green power, because of carbon neutrality, what they want to achieve. For them, the reliability of power supply is much more important because for their main business is something different. And we are here because with a 30-year track record in the country, and we just don't supply the equipment, we maintain them for 25 years for life of the plant. Every single turbine we supply in India is operated and maintained by us. Okay? We give them comprehensive OMS. Therefore, in our order book today, 54% comes from that segment.
Okay.
That's continued to grow. There is an estimate that they need about 78 gigawatts by 2027. That's a total renewable energy,
right,
wind and solar. That's the reason we'll continue to grow because there we are a preferred supplier. Second is public sector. Our share in the order book today is 24% comes from public sector. You know that NTPC, we got this 1165 megawatts awarded, single largest contract ever awarded in the country. And then comes your bidding regime, which is growing significantly. So there's a huge potential. So therefore, we expect to grow. So don't hold me to what market share, but then we're pretty confident with our manufacturing capacity, which is further expanding from current 3.1 gigawatts per year, we are expanding it to 4.5 gigawatts by March. So therefore, there is every reason for us to believe that year on year will continue to grow.
So when you are in the studio with us, you must allow me to ask a classroom type question. We'll come back to Suzlon and your targets in just a bit. But I have a broader question on the viability and the competitive advantage of wind over solar. I mean, look at the kind of conversations that are happening on solar all around the country, right? In terms of just being the most viable option, the cheapest option, also tell us, I mean, right now, what is cheaper at current cost, solar or wind? And given the huge expansion on solar, is wind going to face a real challenge? I mean, look at NTPC's renewables sort of IPO is coming, and there's so much excitement around solar as well. So isn't solar a real threat?
This is a question which I keep facing every single place. Today, solar is around, let's say, 2 rupees 50 paisa at the bus bar. Wind is, let's say, 3.5 at the bus bar. But I have been on record saying that wind is cheaper than solar. I'm making that statement with full consciousness because you need to look at time of the day, demand-based pricing. That's one is easy to check is when you go to the exchange, look at the price and the exchange during the solar generating hours and the wind generating hours. Wind generates in the peak period on the time of the day. If you look at, just take the latest one of July and August. During the solar hours, weighted average tariff was 2.53 and 2.38. 2.38
weighted average?
Yes, price from the exchange.
Okay.
Means you can buy at that rate from exchange.
Okay.
During the wind hours, it is 4.7 to 5.5. Okay. You're generating at 3.5, but actual value of that is 4.7 to 5.5. You're generating at 2.5, the actual value of that is 2.38 to 2.55. Now it's for you to judge which is cheaper. What is most important is that we forget about demand-based pricing. Load profile. Wind actually generates when there is load. Indian load profile. One is time of the day. Second is 2/3 of wind generation on an annual basis comes between May and September. And solar doesn't generate in the monsoon. So what is important is it's not wind versus solar. Wind alone cannot survive.
Demand adjusted.
Solar cannot survive because we are now talking about FDRE bids. We are talking about replacing the fossil fuel. It has to be wind plus solar plus storage. There is no debate on that.
Peak demand, Mr. Chalasani, is evening hours when demand peaks.
Yeah, especially the
load really goes up and there's no sun.
Especially what is happening is when I started my career, the evening peak is to be between 6 and 9.
Correct.
Okay, the TV used to come, Doordarshan used to come, and things like that. Today the evening peak is 6 to 12.
Correct.
Because our activity is going up.
Absolutely.
So that's the time wind generates.
Yeah.
Solar is shut.
There was no Netflix back then.
So solar is completely shut. And then if you take solar plus battery, people talk about that and look at what is output cost. You're putting 2.5 rupees solar power into the battery. Battery doesn't generate. There's a battery storage and conversion cost. When it comes out, it is 8 to 9 rupees. How can that replace 3 rupees 50 paisa wind?
Absolutely.
So it just doesn't. It's easy way is not the right way to go.
Got it. I'm going to come to you. I have a couple of questions, but I just want to read out some news which is coming in right now. Just a quick detour. This is the Adani Green statement I want to read out. I mean, the first time we've heard from the group after, of course, everything which has happened out of the US as we woke up to the news flow. And this is what the statement says, and I'm reading verbatim. The US DOJ, that is the Department of Justice, and US SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, have issued a criminal indictment and brought a civil complaint, respectively, in the US District Court for the Eastern District of New York against our board members, Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani. The US DOJ have also included our board member, Vinny Jain, in such criminal indictment. In light of these developments, our subsidiaries have presently decided not to proceed with the proposed USD-denominated bond offerings. End of quote. That's essentially the statement which is coming through right now. I mean, doesn't really say anything we already did not know, but this is the first official statement which is coming in from the group, from one of the group companies. Back to the solar conversation, Mr. Chalasani. So for Suzlon, you're looking at going into non-wind businesses as well. Is that correct? Or
no. Let me explain to you what we do. We are the only Indian OEM which has in-house technology. We don't buy technology. We design, we manufacture, we execute, plus we operate for 25 years. There's a huge business for us as a service business.
Correct.
Today we operate 15 gigawatts of capacity. In fact, if you look at, people don't know, in the power sector, agnostic of fossil fuel or the renewable power, we come in the top 5 as an operating company. Okay? Maybe after NTPC, Adani and Tata Power. That's the capacity of what we have. And then we are now getting into multi-brand as well for other non-Suzlon turbines. The one which you are talking about is that we have a component supply business, which is the forging and foundry. That's the one which supplies to us, supplies to our competition in the wind segment. They are now doing a couple of things. One is they're moving from wind to non-wind, like railways, defense, and various places. It's a component supply. Okay? And they're also significantly looking at exports.
But this is all within the listed Suzlon.
It is a subsidiary of Suzlon.
Okay, 100% subsidiary of Suzlon.
Yeah.
So they were supplying to you.
It's an independent company.
But now they're looking at opening up the client list to defense, railways, etc. as well.
Etc., as well as for exports.
Okay.
But that's an independent company which just not supplies only to Suzlon in wind. It supplies to every single competition of ours.
Okay.
It operates completely independent of Suzlon. It's a component supplier. That's a business where we talked about expanding into non-wind.
Is that going to be, I mean, do you see a significant room for growth there?
Yes. Actually, today that is capacity being utilized, there is 20%.
Okay.
So there's a huge capacity utilization coming up there. So earlier, we always thought that we will divest that. So, but now we decided there's a huge amount of scope. We don't want to divest.
What are revenues last year, and what is the scope really? Because you know
Say 20% of revenue is about 500 crores.
Okay. And,
Top line.
Okay.
So then you can imagine what is
because areas like railways,
2,500.
defense are also seeing a huge amount of make locally, right? So this ties into that.
Absolutely.
So you're saying, when should we expect first orders from railways?
They've already started getting registered with them because it takes time with railways and defense to go through the process of registration of yourself. That's a process which started, I think, in next, let's say, maybe end of next financial year, the FY27, they would start supplying.
So from around this 500 crores, how do we see it trend up? Since you're saying that it's only at around 20% or the total capacity just mathematically appears like around 2,500 crores. So in the next few years, do you see this revenue number double?
Will.
Yeah.
But then if you look at our overall operation, it is still a smaller portion.
True.
Okay. While that business keep growing, will it significantly impact our top line compared to the way we are growing in the wind turbine business? I don't think.
So which is exactly where we want to come back and end. Now give us, and this is not just for this year, next 2 to 3 years, what is the kind of revenue CAGR, given the opportunity that you described in detail, sir, what is the revenue CAGR your shareholders can expect? And also in margins, because I mean in the first half, there's been a bit of a dip. In the past, I think you've stated 17 to 18% kind of margin band for the basic business, the wind business. Does that stand? Margins and top line growth.
I expect you to ask me this question anyway.
Have to, sir. I'm compelled.
No. Let's say that last year we did 700 megawatt. Here, first quarter itself, we did 550 megawatts. And then 1/3, 2/3 ratio, you know. So you all know what we are likely to do this year. As we stand today, 5.1 gigawatt is order book, which is supposed to be executed in the next 18 to 24 months. And more orders inflow will happen. It's not that it's static. Okay, you will keep seeing us announcing more and more orders as we move ahead. So when there is an order book of 18 to 24 months, it's your guess at how much we're going to do each year. Okay. So last year,
we don't
You're a better placer. We don't know the business. It's your business.
I don't ask me to put a number to it. I can say is that we will consistently grow at much higher rate compared to what we've been growing for not just for 1 or 2 years. Consistently for the next at least 8 to 10 years, we see a clear growth path available there. And not just in the wind turbine business, which could be a little cyclical, but will continue to grow much bigger way in our service business. Because every single turbine we sell, it comes with our service, plus the multi-brand which we acquired through Renom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
therefore, it is not just the wind turbine business alone which you need to look at it.
Mr. Chalasani, you've seen the long journey of the power sector. I think really a veteran. Appreciate you coming down to the studios.
Thank you so much.
And taking out the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good to see all of you in person.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, sir.
All right. I think we'll, take note of the market, which is down 200 points. So I think we're at the low point of the day. And 23,300 is where we are at on the Nifty. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. We're going to come back with the management of CEAT. And we'll talk tires. Falling rubber prices, end demand in the industry. Is that looking a little weakish? All of that with Arnab Banerjee, MD and CEO at CEAT. Stay with us.